This is The Play's the Thing, and I'm Russell Shirker, and I just wanted to start this video cast about explaining the rules to some of the more interesting and fun board games that I happen to know and love, more of the hobby type games that are out there. I noticed there's lots of videos out there reviewing new games, and I think that's fantastic. I love some of the stuff from the Dice Tower and some of the stuff from Father Geek, but there seem to be enough videos out there about reviews. And I thought it would be interesting to put one together that had to do with explaining the rules and the how to play, hopefully in as simple a way as possible, for some of the more complex hobby games that I really enjoy. So I won't be doing a lot of reviews here. I'm not here to review games. You can get that stuff elsewhere. I have been a teacher. I did about 7 years of teaching, so I do love to teach, and that's what I'm a little bit excited about. And what I'm going to be doing in this series is I'm going to be explaining, if you'll bear with me just for a second, now this intro is going to be a little bit longer than the ones I hope to do later, but I'm going to be explaining how to play in a kind of specific method. I'm always going to start, first thing is going to be how to win the game. Basically, what is your goal? We're going to start with what are the victory conditions. Then we're going to go to game setup. I'm going to show you typical setups of games, what it's supposed to look like, how the board is supposed to be set. If there's anything really intricate there, I'll explain, you know, that in the setup section. Third section is going to be a player's turn. I'm going to explain games the way I would if I were sitting across the table from you, and I'm going to focus on what your turn is going to be all about, showing you your different options and maybe expanding upon that to show you what it is that's important about your turn. Then I'm going to talk about, in my fourth section, the end conditions of any given game, so that you know exactly what's going to trigger the end of the game, and that way, again, you can work backwards from knowing your goals to trying to get to a win for the game, or at least just an enjoyment of the game. It's not really all about the winning anyway. And then finally, if I've forgotten any rules, if there are any rules that just don't seem to fit into the flow of what I'm explaining, then I will, in the last section, the fifth section, I'll go back and I'll talk about any rules that seem important enough to mention, but not important enough to put into the flow of the rules when I'm explaining them the first time through. I'm filming this here in my house in Tampa, Florida. More traditional for me to have a shelf full of games behind me, but my games are actually tucked away in my closet on a bunch of shelves, and you can't see them. So I'm going to dispense with the tradition and just kind of do it here in front of my bookshelves. I'm going to start off today. My first video cast is going to be Incan Gold. I'm going to start with a game that is fairly simple. One that I think it'll be easy to explain. To get the hang and the flow of this whole process of filming myself, doing the video editing, uploading, you know, and getting things set up. So we're going to start with a couple of videos of less complex games, like the one I'm doing today, Incan Gold, and then eventually we'll move on to the really complex stuff that I'm excited about explaining, the stuff that boggles non-gamers, and hopefully this video can help them, these video series can help them get more into those kind of games easier. Games like Eclipse and Power Grid and Lords of Waterdeep, stuff that, because of all the bits and pieces, tends to be a little more intimidating for new gamers. So that's basically it. I'm going to talk about Incan Gold now, and let's get to the game. This is Incan Gold. In Incan Gold, you play a Indiana Jones style adventurer who's going to be traveling deep inside of an Incan temple. The temple is filled with many rooms, and those rooms are represented by cards. Some of the rooms have treasure, others of the rooms have hazards or perils. The goal of the game is to get through the temple, collect as much treasure as possible before too many of the hazards come up and force you to drop everything and run from the temple. The game is played in 5 rounds. And in each of the rounds, you'll have a chance to go deeper and deeper into the temple and keep pushing your luck, try to get as much treasure as possible before, again, 2 hazards of the same type comes up, in which case you drop everything and you run out. So how deep are you willing to go? Incan Gold is a light game, great for 3 to 8 players. The box says players ages 8 and up. However, I play this game all the time with my 2 5-year-olds, and they understand the concepts and do really well with it and have a great time. So I would say definitely 5 and up if your kids are ready for it. This is a fun game. It's a filler game, only lasting about 15 to 20 minutes, so it's a great game to put in between other more complex board games when you're having your board game night. Here's a pretty typical setup for Incan Gold. We've set this game up for 4 players, although Incan Gold plays from 3 to 8. Each player is going to get a tent where they're going to hide the treasure that they bank, and I'll explain that later on. And also each player is going to get a set of decision cards. One card is going to represent their interest in going deeper into the temple. This is the Go Deeper card, the one with the torch. Or their decision not to go deeper, instead they wish to run back to camp, or the run away card. Okay, so you've got Go Deeper and Run Away, and for each room of the temple, every player is going to choose one of these cards, lay it face down, and then they're all going to reveal them simultaneously and reveal their decision either to go deeper or to run away. In my house, we actually flip the card over and say, "Go deeper!" or "Run away, run away!" It's just the way we do it in my house. Anyway, so each player's got a tent and decision cards. We've got the temple over here. The temple has got 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, and section 5. They represent the 5 rounds of the game. Under each one of the round cards, there is a randomly chosen artifact. The art is different on each one of the artifact cards, but that's just art. Basically, the first 3 that come out of the temple are worth 5 points, and the last 2 to come out of the temple are worth 10 points each. So this is the artifact that's rumored to be in the first section of the temple, and there's one under each one of the temple sections. You've got your deck over here, and your deck consists of 30 cards, plus 1 for the artifact that you are going to put in. 15 of those cards are going to be rooms with treasure in them. And those look like this. All right. They range in value from all the way down to a value of 1, all the way up to a room with 17 in it. Okay. So these are treasure rooms. And over here, the other 15 cards are your hazards. And your hazard cards look like this. We've got spiders, lava, snakes, rock slides, and zombies. Ooh. So you've got about half and half treasure, half perils. There are 3 of each type of hazard. So you've got 3 zombies, 3 snakes, 3 rock slides, and so on. Okay, so that's your deck. And then you've got your pile of treasure over there. Turquoise is worth 1 point. Obsidian is worth 5 points each. And the gold is worth 10 points. So 1, 5, and 10. And that's your basic setup. Now we're going to move on to the player's turn. In Incan Gold, all players play simultaneously. There aren't any turns moving clockwise the way you would in some other games. So what happens is each player is going to secretly decide whether they want to go deeper or run away. First card turned over is the first room of the temple. There's really no decision to make because there have been no hazards revealed and no treasure. It's presumed that everybody's going to enter the first room. So the dealer flips over the first card, and we've got a 5 treasure room, which is fine. So he's going to lay that card down. Now, the way it works in Incan Gold is every player gets an equal share of the treasure in the room that they're in, and if you can't split it equally, you can't give it out. So we've got 5 treasure in this room and 4 adventurers. That means that each adventurer is going to get 1 turquoise, that's 1 treasure. And the last one, the one that we can't divide, is going to be placed on the card. The adventurers now are going to decide, now it's the player's decision as to whether or not they want to go forward or whether they want to run away. So they're going to all put their cards down and they're going to reveal them. This player has decided to go deeper. This one's decided to go deeper. This one has decided to run away. Not sure why they would do that at this point, since there are no hazards. And this one's decided to go deeper. So, this player is going to run away. They're going to get to bank that piece of treasure, that one turquoise. Also, as they exit the temple, because they're by themselves, they can split that one piece of treasure evenly, and it's only them. They're going to get that piece of treasure as well. So they're going to take those, put them under their tent, so that they can kind of hide. That's banking. And this player is out for the rest of the round. And now the other three that decided to go deeper reveal the next card. The next card, ooh, it's a hazard. We've got a rock slide. So that's the first hazard to be revealed. It doesn't mean that the players have been scared off by the temple, just means that there's a rumbling in the background. If a second rock slide shows up out of the deck, any players that are still in the temple will drop everything they're holding and run out and not be able to collect anything for this round. Basic push your luck mechanic. So let's say that these three players have decided once again to go deeper. The next thing that they encounter is a room with three, a treasure room of three. Now, there are three adventurers and there are three treasure, so they can split that evenly, and each one would collect another turquoise. Now they've got two each. And now, once again, they flip their cards over and they've got another decision to make, whether or not they want to go deeper or run away out of the temple and bank their treasure. And that's basically how the game is played. Each round, make a choice as to whether or not you want to go deeper or run away. Each flip of the card reveals new hazards or new treasure rooms. Here's a nice one. That's an 11. That would give everybody, let's see, everybody would get 3 treasure, and then there would be 2 left over on the room. And that's basically how you play. You continue through the temple, laying out room cards. Lay them out in any pattern you want. I tend to lay them out in a horseshoe pattern, but I don't have room here while I'm filming. And then you go until somebody has, either everybody has run away from the temple successfully, or until a second hazard of the same type has come up. Let's say it's 2 rock slides, and then anybody still in the temple has to run and lose everything that they haven't banked. At that point would be everything that they're holding. And then you move on to the second round. You reshuffle the cards, you flip over card 2, put this artifact into the deck, shuffle it in, and then you move on to round 2, and that's how Incan Gold is played. In my last section of the video, I want to incorporate the rules, the miscellaneous rules that I didn't cover in the previous sections. So let's say we've got a game of Incan Gold. We're in the second round of the temple. Let's say there are still 3 adventurers in the temple. The 4th adventurer has already run away and banked his loot. Now, we've got a room here, it's a 13, and there are 2 turquoise remaining on it. Then we had a hazard, we had a snake come up. We have a room that was a 5, and it has a turquoise remaining on it. And then we got to an artifact room. Now, artifacts are handled differently from all the other treasures in a certain sense, because an artifact is a unique treasure. It's one item, and it has to be split evenly amongst the adventurers. Since there are still 3 adventurers traveling into the temple, there's no way that they can split a single artifact. So they have to leave it behind them and move on to other rooms. I usually represent that by putting a single piece of treasure down. In this case, because it's the first treasure to leave the temple, I'll put down a piece of obsidian, which is worth 5, which is what the first, second, and third artifacts to leave the temple are worth. Now, as they go on to the next room, let's say all 3 adventurers make their decisions about whether or not they're going to go deeper. Let's say that 2 of the remaining adventurers decide that, oh no, we're going to run away now that the artifact is there. Well, that's interesting. If 2 people decide to exit the temple at this point, what's going to happen is they're going to get to this room, and they're still not going to be able to divide one artifact amongst the 2 of them. So they're going to have to leave this behind. They're going to get to this room, and there's only 1 turquoise here. They can't split that. Then they're going to get to this last room on the way out, and there are 2 pieces of turquoise here. There are 2 adventurers exiting the temple at the same time. They're actually going to take 1 piece of turquoise each as they leave the temple and add that to their hoard that they're going to bank. Now we've got 1 adventurer left, That adventurer goes forward, has already decided to go deeper. So they flip that over. They get a room with 7 treasure in it. So that means that all 7 of those treasure are going to go next to that particular adventurer's hoard. Okay, not banked yet. Now let's say that on the next round, the last sole adventurer in the temple decides he's going to make his escape. He plays the runaway card, and as he's leaving the temple, he grabs the artifact, takes the obsidian piece and the artifact card, exits out. This room with the 5 still has a piece of turquoise in it. He's by himself, so he can grab that. 1 divides by 1. And then, of course, he gets nothing from the room with the 13 because the previous adventurers emptied it out on their way out. And it's lucky for him that he did decide to run away, because the last card here is a snake. And that means that had he stayed in and had he gone to this next room, he would have dropped everything, run out, and been unable to collect the artifact from the temple. In fact, if the artifact were still there, if he had gone to that last room, the artifact would have been discarded from play and would not be in the next phase of the temple, so it would be lost to the adventurers. Okay? Well, last rule to cover is when you do get 2 hazards come up like these 2 snakes, if you are chased out of the temple because of one of the hazards, that second hazard goes out of play. And that means that because there's 3 of them in the deck, now there's only 2, and snakes are less likely to become a hazard to chase you out of the temple in the future. So that means as you run across hazards, they go out of play, at least one of them goes out of play, and then they're less likely to come up. So there you go, that's Incan Gold. A fun, fast game, a really great filler game, really a super game with families. As I mentioned, I play this game all the time with my younger kids, and they really enjoy this game. So I hope you enjoyed my video on how to play Incan Gold. I enjoyed doing it. This is hopefully the first in a series of videos explaining the rules of some of the hobby games that I really enjoy. Some of the more complex games. At least I'll build up to the more complex games as we go. So this has been The Play is the Thing. My name is Russell. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like, you can email me at theplaysthing@gmail.com. I couldn't get The Plays the Thing. It was theplaysthing@gmail.com. Go ahead and email with any comments. Let me know if I got anything wrong. I certainly would want to go fix things if I screwed it up. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.